Well, the first steps have been taken to end the government shutdown, and maybe not in a way that a lot of Democratic voters hoped for. Last night, 8 Democratic senators crossed party lines to vote on a deal that was reached to reopen the government. In terms of concessions that were made, this was a deal that has honestly been on the table for quite a long time and contains some upsides for Democrats while missing out on the one core thing that Democrat voters wanted in this shutdown, which was an extension of the Affordable Care Act subsidies, which isn't happening here. And so a lot of voters are angry about the outcome of this deal, and rightfully so. I'm sure you have seen a lot of takes from people the past 24 hours about this deal, why they're upset with it, why they don't understand why Democrats caved on it in the first place. And so there are a lot of those. Something I would like to focus on, though, is some of the people in this shutdown fight who didn't cave. Because I think if this week showed us anything and yesterday showed us anything, it is something important. And that is that the future of the Democratic Party is full of fighters. And so I want to focus on what these new faces in the Democratic Party had to say about this deal, had to say about ending the shutdown, and show how they're providing a blueprint of Democrats willing to fight back. So starting with Senator Chris Murphy, right after the vote took place last night, he went out and posted a video from his office, and he had this to say to voters about a result that many people are disappointed with. Let's take a look.
But there's no way to defend this. And you are right to be angry about it. I'm angry about it. And I'm just going to get up tomorrow and go to work to try to convince all of my colleagues that this is a unique moment and the necessity to stand and fight, even when it's hard, even when it involves pain, is necessary, more necessary today than at any point during any of our political careers.
And I'm glad that he validated voters' frustrations here, as opposed to trying to convince them that this was the perfect optimal outcome. He stood with them and said, you are probably frustrated and you have every right to be. And I'm going to keep going out there to work to convince my colleagues that they should stand down from this. And I think that is, the difference between some of these kind of newer, fresher faces we're seeing in the Democratic Party and some of the others we're seeing is that he's not trying to gaslight voters into thinking that this is some great victory. I think he is being real and he is being candid and he is acknowledging that with them. And frankly, this outside of Senate leadership, Hakeem Jeffries came out last night and very outrightly rejected the deal and said this is not going to work for the Democratic House caucus. And so you've seen this wave of Democratic House members coming out against this deal and saying that it doesn't work for them. And I think that is the backbone and the spine that Democratic voters are dying to see right now, and not just from the establishment or the politicians in Washington. They want to see it elsewhere as well. And Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, put it very well this morning. He was speaking at an event and he talked about how he viewed this shutdown after last night when he tweeted out that he thought this deal was, in his words, pathetic. He came out very strongly against it last night. This is what he had to say about it this morning. Let's take a look.
I worry now, though, that sounds like some of my colleagues and friends in the United States Senate, some of my Democratic colleagues just decided that we're playing by the old set of rules, not the new set of rules, and may have rolled over a little bit. So I love your question. It's the right question. I want to be part of that answer as an American citizen, not as a governor, as the ex-governor of California. But right now, we've got to hold the line because I think America will become unrecognizable in a year or two unless we fight back.
And he has a point here. I mean, Newsom has been on an obvious winning streak this week. He laid the foundation for Democrats fighting back against Republican overreach and Republican corruption, and it paid off for him last week with the Prop 50 vote winning by a massive margin in California, and he has created the contours of a Democratic Party that has this feeling that Republicans are not going to negotiate in good faith. And that even though there's this promised vote on the Affordable Care Act, that, someone like Mike Johnson hasn't even agreed to bring that up for a vote. And I think, Gavin Newsom has been very clear about the fact that he doesn't think the Republican Party is working for the American people in good faith whatsoever right now. And he is saying that we need to match this GOP aggression with moral clarity, but with policy muscle and standing behind what we say we're fighting for. And this fight isn't just, and these responses to the deal to reopen the government, it's not just happening with these governors or with people in Washington. You also have these you have people running and Democrats running in primaries for next year that really have their ear to the ground. They're the ones talking to voters every day. And they had had very strong responses to this deal as well. I want to show you what Mallory McMorrow, who's running for Senate in Michigan, what she had to say about this last night. Let's take a look.
We got to do things very differently. The old way of doing things is not working. We need new leaders in the Senate, and we've shown on the ground here in Michigan how we can show up, how we can build power, how we can use that power to protect you. Now is not the time for a deal that is nothing but a broken promise.
And this, if this is what a primary candidate who's out there talking to voters every day is saying, that means that they're hearing from voters that they want a party that sticks to their guns and delivers on these policy commitments and these commitments to deliver not just politics, but actual meaningful policy and change for the American people. I think, James Tallarico, who is another familiar face that's getting a lot of attention right now, who's running for Senate in Texas, it also came out outright and just bluntly said, this is not a deal I support. It's not a deal I would ever support if I was in the Senate. And I think for these candidates, they're not afraid of backlash. They're afraid of complacency. And there are candidates who understand that Democrats can't keep showing up to gunfights with a strongly worded press release and a pinky promise from Republicans. And I think that's what you're seeing a lot of these new faces in the party express right now. But I do want to talk about what this deal does give Democrats, because I'm an optimist at the end of the day, and I still want to talk about some of the things that we do get to see now that the government is going to be reopened. First of all, there, as part of this deal, SNAP benefits for people that were at risk of continued and severe cuts are protected through the end of next year. That's obviously going to become a pretty big wedge issue in the midterms, and so I think this gives Democrats a very strong opportunity to talk about the fact that they have done something to protect SNAP for people. A big thing I know everybody's going to be very eager to see is, what is Mike Johnson going to do? He's got to bring the House back into session, meaning he has to swear in Adelita Grijalva, who, as we all know, would be the final vote to force this discharge petition to release the Epstein files. And people are eager to see how Mike Johnson is going to handle that. Unfortunately, Mike Johnson doesn't seem to have any sort of roadmap for how he's going to handle that. Let's take a look at what he did what he said at a very brief press conference this morning.
And finally do the right thing and help us to bring an end to the pain of the American people. This has gone on too long. Too many people have suffered, and it's long overdue. That's the update I wanted to give you this morning. There are probably lots of questions, but I'm going to get a lot of my own questions answered later today, so stay tuned for more. Thanks so much.
So he basically got up there to say he has no idea what's happening yet, and maybe he'll take some questions later when he finally knows what's going on. Look, I think if there is a theme to take away from this moment, it is that it's not like there's this huge divide we're seeing between ideologies in the Democratic Party. Of course, you have different ideologies versus people on the center left versus the far left, but I think this vote last night and what we just saw, people weren't divided in their vote based on ideology. You had plenty of centrists who are vulnerable senators who voted to reject this deal. You had Alyssa Slotkin do that. You have John Ossoff, who's arguably the most vulnerable senator next year, vote against this deal because he doesn't think it's a good thing for Americans. And so this is not a progressives versus moderates fight. I think what you are going to start seeing is the party being divided into fighters versus non-fighters. And that is going to be a big theme that we're going to keep seeing moving forward. And it has nothing to do with age even. I know people bring that up a little bit. This is going to be, are you going to support these measures to fight for the American people and not cave? And I think that is going to be a very good, important discussion for the party to have moving forward. The shutdown may be over, but accountability is not. And I think this week didn't show the end of the fight. It just showed who in the Democratic Party is built to keep swinging. That's it for me today. If you liked what you saw in this video, throw a like on it. Follow the Demwins Media YouTube channel. Follow me at buildingthebench.substack.com, and we will keep bringing you the news as you need to see it. Thanks for watching.